Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined by Gareth A.Davies, who is all the way in Palermo, Sicily. So, one thing to say to you, Gareth, bonjour.
Yeah, very, very clever, aren't you, in your fucking languages? You haven't got a clue. Look at you with your big grin on your face, KUGAN. KUGAN, I can speak French, Cassius. Yeah, and buongiorno a lei. Very good here in Palermo. Just had a few days here. You been or not?
I have been to Palermo. It's one of three places I've been to in Italy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's nice here. It's busy, very busy, and very hot. Just about as hot as it is in the UK today. So, and you're enjoying the heat of Essex right now, aren't you? No, I'm just about to make my way home. Had a great few days here. Music, little bit of wine, lovely food, lovely culture, coffee in the mornings, lovely walks, Montello Beach. Been brilliant. Just needed a little break because it feels like there's been a little break. But while I was here, I know you'll want to ask me about this. I saw your interview with Eddie Hearn this week, which I thought, was that Wednesday?
Tuesday.
It was fantastic. And I was so fascinated by it. I ripped a few of the quotes out, credited you. But I was fascinated to learn that he'd promote Imane Khelif and you know the Algerian who won a gold medal at the games. I thought it was so fascinating. I had to write a story on it. Did it yesterday, and I was on holiday.
There you go. I mean, just going back to that interview, I mean, I asked Eddie, my opening question to Eddie about Khelif was, would he be interested in signing her? He kind of went off on one about the whole situation without really answering that question, which then I had to come back to, which then he answered that if kind of the facts were presented and he was kind of satisfied or content with what was being put in front of him, that he would consider. I don't think that's a big shock. He knows the commercial value more so of Khelif than anyone coming out of that Olympics in boxing by a mile.
That's mine. That's mine. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Look, I mean, anyone knocking him over wanting to promote her is wrong because he's a promoter. As I think he explained in the interview, her social media following on Instagram's gone up from 30,000 to nearly 2 million during the course of the games. There's a lawsuit out from her lawyer against J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk in the States, and potentially Donald Trump is mentioned in it as well, for cyberbullying. I thought because the reason why it fascinates me as well, because 2 weeks ago in LA, I was dragged into an interview with Eddie on air where we were discussing it. And at that point, Khelif was in the quarters, I think, the quarterfinals in Paris. And there was a lot of misinformation around about whether this person was transgender or, you know, what they were and so on. And, you know, I've been looking into it a lot in the last couple of weeks. And I think Eddie's comments, she is very, very marketable right now. She's around that weight division where you put her in with Clarissa Shields, Chantel Cameron, a lot of those girls, and she's very experienced. But my thing is, and he almost said it, what test are we going to look at? And I think before Imane Khelif goes any further, before lawyers go any further, do a biological test and put it out there. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a very unusual case. That's not a bullying scenario. That is absolutely drawing a line in the sand over whether people can debate or not over what her sex is, male or female. Because EBA, International Boxing Association, say they've tested and that she isn't right for women's boxing. IOC say she is. But the argument at the moment is there's more biological testing in EBA than there is in the IOC, the Olympic Committee, because they test on gender. And I think they've been taken over by gender ideology. So Khelif had an F in her passport, female, so she's allowed to compete. Look, she's competed for a long time in women's boxing, but maybe maybe to get rid of all the doubters, to get rid of us investigating as journalists, of people making comments, have the test, do the biological test. I spoke to Dr. Emma Hilton, a molecular biologist from Manchester University last weekend, who told me that it takes a week in a medical lab to check someone's sex, whether they're male or female. So I just think it's a clear biological thing. Is she XX? Is she XY? If she's XY, it's difficult. And all the routes are closed now. We don't even know if they'll be boxing in the Olympics in 2028. She's precluded from competing in the World Amateur Championships. So her route looks like the pros. And if Eddie's going to promote her and he's happy to promote her and he's considering it, just do a test and then you can clarify. Simple as that. Does that not make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you pointed out the important thing about this as well, that it is a very rare situation to have. So there's no blueprint for how to deal with this. And
it's new.
Yeah, it's new. And the whole XY, XX chromosome, like I said, that situation, you're right, there needs to be some clarity on that. And if that is the case, which again, Eddie questioned it yesterday, if these tests have been made, where are they? So I suppose if any promoter was going to move forward with Khelif, they'd have to have their own kind of even independent testing. So it's not just from, because we haven't seen these reports from last
They
year.
haven't been made public.
No,
they haven't been made public. But the intimation is that they did some kind of cheek swab, and that they have looked at the chromosomes and the testosterone levels, certainly the testosterone levels. So some women have higher testosterone levels, and IOC doesn't test for it anymore. The simple situation here is, has this person got a DSD, which is a developmental abnormality, which happens for some people. I think it's 1 in a million, where they develop in the womb with the XY chromosomes, but they don't necessarily develop genitalia that's male. So they have better bone structure, stronger bone structure. The whole pathway makes the body much more male. Now, they've probably been around forever, people with this. I don't even call it a disorder. It's just how they are. I'm about to go to the Paralympics, where there are 3,500 people who are all unique and different, and we're all as we are. So there's a sliding scale here, and I think all we've got to look at is this person too powerful, too male in terms of chromosomes, in terms of biology, to be boxing against females? Simple as that, really, because it's the hurt business. And that's the way I see it, Cougs.
Gareth, I'll just kind of refer back to an interview I did with Frank Warren this week as well. He made his comments very kind of clear and public regarding this situation, regarding Khelif, and saying that basically, if this is the case, then fight men. We know I don't think that's an option to happen, that Khelif actually goes into like the male division of boxing and starts competing. I think that's very unrealistic to happen, but Frank Warren was kind of very cutthroat about the situation. And because of this, if Khelif has this XY chromosome, which is obviously predominantly found in men, then it shouldn't really be allowed to happen. That's Frank Warren's kind of, cutthroat answer to this situation.
Well, I mean, Frank is wizened and experienced in the game, but I don't agree with him on his opinion on this, and he's fully entitled to his opinion. He's fully entitled to his opinion based on the fact she has XY chromosomes. I agree with him that she shouldn't be boxing women, but I don't agree with him that she should be boxing men. She's lived all her life as a female. She's lost 2 other female amateur fighters. She's been in the game 7 or 8 years. So it's a complex scenario in lots of ways. I don't want to see her boxing against men either, by the way. Because she falls in the middle. She's very unfortunate in that way. So for me, if she's got high levels of testosterone, but she doesn't have XY and has XX chromosomes, she should be able to go ahead. She's just blasted that way, in other words. I'm sure there have been other female athletes, maybe even in boxing, in the past, who've had this chromosomatic differential, if you like, are not optically are female, but have the male chromosome as well. But we've never known about it. Testing has changed, science is advancing. But I think it comes back to a simple thing. I don't think Eddie would promote her if they found out she had XY chromosomes in women's boxing. Having said that, Amy Broadhurst has beaten her. I think Sky Nicholson beaten her as well, or I think...
I know Broadhurst has beaten. I'm not too sure about Sky Nicholson. I think Sky Nicholson has been public about the situation, but I don't really know whether she sparred her, etc. Because quite a few boxers have come out and said they've sparred her.
Well, there's also background stories that in training it's too hard for women to spar her, and they've had to have her sparring against men. But Chantel Cameron spars men, Clarissa Shields spars men, so you can draw from whatever angle you want to on this and go against him for it. I want this person to succeed in life. I want Khelif to succeed in life. I don't think she's a cheat. I think she may be unfortunate, caught in between in terms of what she is biologically, but let's see it. I mean, if it means that she can't box in women's boxing, that is the case. She's just very unfortunate. She can't do it in the amateurs. The Olympics allowed it. I think they've been slightly hijacked by gender ideology. We've got a case in the Paralympics coming up, which I need to look into, and I'm going to the Paralympics in Paris. There's a sprinter or a runner who was male, who is now competing in a female event and is transgender. So, again, this will need looking into, but it's a bit different in athletics, but in boxing, we can't allow it. I think the IOC have failed in a duty of care to do a test, to make it public, and to say we are standing up for the safety of women boxers. And I think there's a dereliction of duty here, failure of safety of care.
Just the last one on this, Gareth, in regards...
Glad you remember my name.
What are you talking about? I forgot what I was going to say now.
Oh, come on.
No, I've actually forgotten. You've actually thrown me and I've actually forgotten what I was going to say.
I love throwing you. I love throwing you.
I've actually forgotten what I was going to say. I'm going to move on from this.
You're going to have to cut this out then. You have to cut it out.
We'll leave it in raw, Gareth. We know we like it raw. So
easy.
I will come back to it when it comes to it, but as literally just slips out my mind. Gareth, just coming back to Eddie Hearn's interview, obviously there was quite a few things there to kind of possibly dissect and analyse from what he was saying. He spoke for great length about the situation regarding Turki and Canelo. And, I asked him in layman's terms, has Turki, HE, got the ump with Canelo? And he said, well, yes, through frustration, but he kind of indicated that there is a little bit of a situation there regarding Canelo and his excellency. What did you make?
Listen, Canelo's the most powerful boxer in the sport. No one else has commanded $365 million for 10 fights. His Excellency Turki Alalshikh is the most powerful money broker and influence in the sport right now, arguably the most influential person. I think... Un café, per favore? Un café? Grazie. I think Canelo is perfectly within his right to say, no, you're not pulling me off course right now. Also, and I've said this to you before, either publicly or privately, Terence Crawford doesn't do a lot for Canelo's legacy. He doesn't need to fight him. It's all about what Terence can do against Saul, not what Saul can do against Terence. Don't get me wrong, I'd still love to see the fight, even though I think it's a step too far physically. Weight divisions for a reason and all those aphorisms and so on. Oh, that's a fact, or whatever you want to call it. But I think they'll do business with each other down the line. I completely agree with Eddie. I said it somewhere else in the interview or wrote it. This is just them doing business in public, creating interest, generating interest. $150 million is what he wants to be asking for David Benavidez, because that's the fight everybody wants to see. He won't get $150 million for it, but that's the fight everyone wants to see. He'll get 50 million, but that's the fight we all want to see. That is the legacy-defining fight for Saul Canelo Alvarez. Or another fantasy fight for me, which again is Canelo stepping up, is him against Artur Beterbiev. That's what I'd like to see as well, because those styles make fights.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know obviously Canelo is fighting Berlanga next month, and I think a lot of the conversations I think Hearn had even with Canelo from that interview, Canelo's answer was, "Listen, right now I'm focused on Berlanga, and I don't want to talk about anything else."
Yeah. But why shouldn't he be? Why shouldn't he be? It's absolutely right. Berlanga, everyone says, "Oh yeah, he's going to walk in, beat Berlanga up, stop him late in the fight," which he probably will do. But he's still got to be focused on that. He's still got to be a pro. He's still got to go into camp properly, do San Diego, listen to what the Reynosos, Don Chepo and Eddie are saying to him. So, you know, and Eddie's using his name all the time to promote. Eddie uses people's names to promote. Eddie's a dog. He's a proper dog. He's a dog. There you go. There's your headline. There's your headline. Eddie's a dog.
A lot of people use Eddie Hearn's name to promote as well, though. So.
Listen, and they did. Terence Crawford used it in LA. Canelo was using it. Jared Anderson used it. Listen, Eddie is a brilliant promoter. He's brilliant at promoting himself, and he's brilliant at promoting his fighters. You know, and I get on very well with the man. You know, he's an asset in boxing, and he showed that out in LA, and he's showing it at the moment.
What did you make of Hearn's comments during the end of that interview, Gareth, regarding AJ Fury? It was quite interesting because I was just referring back to some comments that Barry Hearn had made to me last week regarding that, saying that, you know,
it's got to happen.
It has to happen, otherwise we would have failed.
But look, yeah, I agree. I've raised this several times. I think it's a travesty for Anthony Joshua if he doesn't get to fight Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury in this era. An absolute travesty. It's actually a disgrace if he doesn't get to fight both of those guys. But if Fury loses to Usyk, I think there's only 2 fights left for Fury anyway. A Usyk fight and a Joshua fight. I hope he's not going to do a trilogy with Usyk if he beats him the second time and beats him in the second encounter. Just fight Joshua, and that's enough. He's aging. He's talked about he's had enough. His friends, his family. You know, you're close to him and his team as well. They don't want him to go on too much longer. That's enough. But I think it would be a drastic shame for all of us and for the fans of boxing and the era if we don't see Fury against Joshua. Of course, I'd love to see it. It's got to happen. And Eddie and Barry are right to say that.
What was interesting about Eddie's comments is that he gave us every situation that possibly could happen, and every situation that he gave what the possibility of the AJ fight still happening with Fury. He gave the example of if AJ beats Dubois, AJ becomes IBF champion. If Fury was to lose to Usyk, then Fury has a chance to become world champion by fighting Anthony Joshua. He said, even if they both lose, I said, it's still a bragging right. Whatever situation happens out of these next 2 fights can still result in this fight happening next year. But we've got to say, if it doesn't happen at some point next year, that fight is obviously never going to happen anyway, is it?
Well, unless they spend loads of their money and then they decide, you know, in a year and a half's time that actually they should have had this fight after all, which has happened many, many times in boxing. If they both lose, I think there's a possibility. I think if they both win, there's a possibility. But if one wins and one loses, okay. No, let me imagine. Right. So I think Joshua beats Dubois. Let's say Dubois wins that. Joshua's lost and he gets knocked out. I don't see Dubois outpointing him, but who knows? So Joshua gets knocked out. Fury beats Usyk. See, Fury's not going to fight Dubois. So maybe, and then it's not right, really, if Joshua gets knocked out by Dubois, that you match him up next against Fury. It doesn't work. Need to fight in between. So we're always dealing with ifs and buts. They both need to win or they both need to lose.
I think the most realistic one, if one of them loses, is if AJ wins and Fury loses, as opposed to if Fury wins and AJ loses. Yeah,
that's the one that makes a bit more sense, because Fury then fights for the IBF. It's going to be an almighty close fight with Usyk this time, though. I've watched that fight back recently, and I still maintain, and I was there at ringside, I maintain that after 7 rounds, it looked like Fury was about to chop up Usyk. And it was an extraordinary 8th and 9th round by Usyk that changed the fight. And what was the referee? Mark Nelson, wasn't it? I think it was Mark Nelson. It's amazing it wasn't stopped. But he just intervened when he did. I get people's arguments. If it had been the other way around, maybe Usyk would have been stopped. That's just people loving or hating. But the facts were Fury was dominating that fight till the 7th round. Dominating. After a bit of ascendancy for Usyk early. If Fury's fit, mentally right, they're both aging now. It's going to be a battle of will and skill again. Can't wait for it, mate. I just hope there's no injuries. We got a little bit of a, Christmas in Arabia again.
Not as bad as last time, but yeah, as in time.
Listen, we have. Let's be honest to all the folks that, and a lot of the doubting voices going, how much do we? It's hard work out there, but how much do we enjoy afterwards? We don't drink anything. We have a shisha and a bite to eat. We go out and we have a giggle down in Olea every night, having a shisha after work till about 3 a.m. And we're up again at 9, working again. It's great fun, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Very different, but great fun, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Gareth, listen, safe flight back home from Palermo.
Hey, ciao, ciao, ciao. Ci vediamo.
Adios.
Ci vediamo pronto.
Adios, that's right, isn't it?
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ci vediamo pronto.
Nice one, geezer.
All right, geez.
Gareth, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you when you're home.
All right, mate. No worries. Always a pleasure. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Gareth A.Davies.
Wall Street Memes Casino.
I'm fine.
And Sportsbook.